Have you always wondered why your ball striking just isn't as good as you would want? It could be something that's so simple, yet so quick to fix. Hi everyone, my name is James Robinson. Welcome back to Get Good at Golf. On this channel, I aim to help you get good at golf just one day at a time. Now today we're going to talk about stance width. This is something that is so simple, you would kick yourself. Oh, that actually hurt a little bit actually, if you get this wrong. So I'm going to talk about if you stand too wide. This is something that we see with so many golfers, with irons, with wedges in particular, and of course with driver, which we're going to discuss in this video. So if you stand really, really wide, you might think, well, I need to have a nice wide stance because I want to hit the ball as fast as I physically can, and as far as I physically can. To do that, I need a nice solid base. Everyone tells me that. That's an 8 iron, it's carried 135 yards in the air. Now, that might be okay numbers, but for me, I know I can hit this 8 iron further. In order to do that, I need to make sure I can load up my backswing. So to load up the backswing, I need to actually have what we call an athletic stance. You may be thinking, James, nothing about you looks athletic. You now have the ultimate dad bod. I'm well aware of that, but I can still have an athletic stance. So by that, I mean, I'm going to stand nice and shoulder width apart. I'm going to have a little bit of flex in the knees. I should be able to just jump a little bit off that surface. Athletic. If I were to stand really wide, I'd really struggle to jump because I can't get the spring that I need. So how does that work in the golf swing, you ask? Well, if I've got a nice kind of shoulder width stance width, so if I've got a nice shoulder width stance, I feel like I can actually rotate up into that right side, and I can get a nice full turn. If I were to stand too wide here, there's no way I can get a full turn, so all of a sudden that lever system is shorter. A shorter lever system is obviously going to leave me with less club head speed, which is going to leave me with less ball speed, which ultimately is the reason why that ball only went 135 yards. So if I can load up to my trail side, guess what happens after this? I then project myself into the left side, which is my lead side for a right-handed golfer. All of a sudden, even with a drill, that 8 iron's gone 156 yards, 148 yards in the air. So their numbers more like what I would be used to. So just by making sure I can rotate properly, I can load into the right side, that puts me in the starting blocks to be able to press off. That puts me in the starting blocks to be able to push off and rotate at the same time. The key to getting good club head speed is rotation, and the key to getting rotation is being able to move yourself around your body nice and freely. So with irons, that can work really, really well. If I just hit you a nice normal shot now, you'll see how much I do get to rotate and load up into the right side and project to the left side, and you can see my finishing position. In a second, I'm going to show you 155 yard carry. That is perfect for what I want. If you look at this replay, you can see how I've really loaded into the right side, pushed off, turned in. That's not something you can do with incorrect stance width. Yes, you might keep your balance really well, but you're going to ultimately struggle to get any speed, to get any strike, and to get the correct contact. Now, I know what you're all thinking, James, that's all good and well, but as soon as Chris passes me my driver in just a second, you will see how it affects the most important club in so many people's bag. This should be 155-ish again. Oh, 164, I absolutely ripped that one. Chris is now going to pass me the driver. And what tends to happen with driver when talking about this is if you stand too wide, you'll generally go onto your trail foot here. So again, right foot for a right-handed golfer, you will stay there and you will top the golf ball. I just managed to get that one in the air. That's got a total of 14 yards. Not exactly what we want, and this can actually look a little bit uncouth, I like that word, uncouth, because you're actually trying to hit it really, really hard. You're putting a lot of energy into it, but you're not quite transferring it. So again, nice solid stance with nice rotation up to the top and then turn in to that ball, and from there, you'll see that you can hit much more penetrating, distance-filled shots. Really enjoyed that one. So that is if you stand too wide. What about if you stand too narrow? Because this could really be a destructive factor of your golf game.
So guys, good points there from James. Obviously with a stance too wide, we start to see a lot of different strikes, so all over the face, from catching it well before, to catching it on the bottom of the club, to directional problems as well. So one thing James mentioned there about obviously the wide stance is we start to limit that rotation, so we really get stuck. And you might be somebody who has a wide stance, but what you start to do is move off the ball to try and get that. So if you are getting the facts, if you're catching the ball way before, start to think, are you moving off that golf ball? But once we talk about narrowing our stance, again, people think, right, shoulder width. Right, what's shoulder width? Let me find that. So I think, yeah, that's shoulder width, because everyone tells me our stance is too wide. We've suddenly then become hip width apart. From here, we're a little bit too narrow, and what we start to see is if you are making a big swing, we'll see you lose your balance, or again, move off the ball. And once we've got here, we then have to lose our angles, come out of our posture, and then we have to get down to the golf ball, try and find a strike. And as we know there, we're going to catch a different part of the ground every single time, and that's not really the motion you want to see. So we've got to think about when we are too narrow, we're going to limit the amount of speed we can generate. There is only so much speed, and if there's only so much speed, there's only so much I can do with that club face as well. I might not be able to control it and time that correctly. We might lose one to the right. We then might lose one quickly to the left. So what you can do is set up a alignment stick in between your legs. Again, in the studio, unfortunately, we don't have one, so I'm going to use James's driver.
Oh, perfect. £600 alignment stick, wonderful.
There we go. Straight in the middle of our stance.
Amazing how you won't use the brush, but you'll use
it doesn't get used so much, to be honest. So we've got that bang in the middle of my stance. The ball position is going to be just ahead of that. And then when we come in here and address this, we want to start to get into the routine of, right, step with my right, step with my left. And we're then going to start to see that the club is in the middle of my stance. I'm using an 8-iron here, so depending on what club you are using, that will slightly vary. But I can guarantee that that's now in the middle. I can make a nice motion. I can turn nicely onto the right, through to my finish, and I can be in balance towards my target. Carrying there 155 or 153 to be precise. So very similar to James, and it's amazing how when we can get into that posture, we're going to start to generate some consistent numbers, some consistent spins, and hopefully a little bit more control on your direction. So if we was using the driver, oh, nearly broke James's driver. If we're using James's driver, then what we want to do is get that golf ball, I'll remove that golf ball, well struck. We want to get that a little bit, obviously, forwards in our stance, but I want the same kind of routine. So I want to be in with the driver, feet together, and from here, I'm going to make sure my left foot's turned out, and then I'm going to go, again, shoulder width. Maybe a little bit more, but only maybe a ball's width more. I'm not trying to go, right, driver, I've got to give this everything I've got. We know with James, that limits the turn. From here, I'm hanging back. We might even catch the ground before and top that, or we just send the driver really high and it only goes 130 yards. From here I can't generate much, it's down the middle, and this is what we start to see from a lot of higher handicap golfers. They're like, right, I need to get a wide stance because I can hit it further. No, we want to be in here with our alignment stick / golf club, step, shoulder width, make sure I set up there, and then from here I can make a normal swing. And I can get that ball coming out with plenty of speed, a good strike and some good direction down the middle, and helping you get good at golf.